Disney Lorcana Archazia's Island is only a week away, so in preparation, I want to go over what I think are the top 10 cards that you should grab from the set. But before we get into it, I want to remind everyone to please like this video and subscribe to the Sorcerer's Hat for more Disney Lorcana content. I post brand new videos every single Friday. Alright, let's not waste any more time, and let's get into the details. Right up front, some disclaimers before we get into it. This is merely my opinion on the cards that you should prioritize adding to your collection. And I can always be wrong, and I've definitely been wrong in the past. So, you know, take everything I say with a grain of salt. Also, if there's a card that I didn't bring up that you think is good and possibly worth getting or will see some play in the meta next set, please let us know in the comments below. And with that, let's get into it. So at number 10, we have Aurora, Waking Beauty. She is an inkable 3-cost Amber character card with 1 strength, 4 willpower, and she quests for 2. She has Singer 5 and 1 ability, Sweet Dreams. Whenever you remove 1 or more damage from a character, ready this character. She can't quest or challenge for the rest of this turn. So when I first saw this card, I thought it was kind of bad or niche, but after talking about it with a few people at my locals, I actually think this card could be pretty good in Steel Song. It's a useful target for Rapunzel on turn 4, and if you can manage to heal her and then ready her right after, you can sing a song, a turn 5 song at that, on turn 4, which is pretty great. Will it replace Ariel though? I don't know. Probably not, but we'll see. I still think this card has a lot of potential. And it also has an enchanted this set, so if it does start to see play, her enchanted card will probably become pretty valuable. Up next is Lady. She is an uninkable 5-cost Amber Emerald character card with 4 strength, 4 willpower, and she quests for 2. She has Shift 3 and 1 ability, Something Wonderful. When you play this character, you may return up to 2 character cards with cost 2 or less each from your discard to your hand. I don't know if you ever shift this card because her shift targets are just not that great, but I do think it's going to be really good in Amber Emerald aggro. If that deck ends up having some legs this format, then I think this will be a pretty good card, and I honestly don't see it being that expensive to get a hold of, since it's really only going to be played in a very specific deck. So I don't know, keep an eye on this one. Next is Giant Cobra. This is an inkable 3-cost Amethyst Steel character card with 4 strength, 4 willpower, and he quests for 1. He has Vanish and 1 ability, Mysterious Advantage. When you play this character, you may choose and discard a card to gain 2 lore. This card slots right into Amethyst Steel really well and gives it extra lore burn to go with Merlin Goat or White Rose, and it has pretty good stats. I think this card will see play, and best of all, it's in the starter decks. And it's also uncommon, so it's not actually going to be that hard to find, and it probably won't even be that expensive. Holo versions of this card, though, might get a little expensive because I assume people are going to be really going after them. Next up is Pete, Space Pirate. He's an inkable 6-cost Emerald Steel character card with 5 strength, 5 willpower, and he quests for 2. He has Shift 4 and 1 ability, Frightful Scheme. While this character is exerted, opposing characters can't exert to sing songs, and your pirate characters gain Resist 1. This card is already shaping up to be really, really good, especially since it can reliably shift the turn after you play Pete Games Referee. It has great stats and a really good ability, so I think this is going to be a really, really good card for Emerald Steel. Also, the pirate ability allows Pete to not take damage when he exerts, so you can reliably curve to Smee, to Pete, to this Pete, and it's just gonna be great. So this is definitely a card to keep an eye on. Next is Mushu, Majestic Dragon. He is an inkable 5-cost Ruby Steel character card with 4 strength, 4 willpower, and he quests for 1. He has 2 abilities, his first one of which is Intimidating and Awe-Inspiring. Whenever one of your characters challenges, they gain Resist 2 during that challenge. And his second ability is Guardian of Lost Souls. During your turn, whenever one of your characters banishes another character in a challenge, gain 2 lore. I think Mushu is great because he represents a huge buff for Ruby Steel decks. Whether or not the deck ends up being meta viable is unknown, but if you've been looking to try Challenge Matters type decks, then this card is going to be a must run. I'm really looking forward to testing this one out. Next is Scrooge McDuck, Resourceful Miser. He's an inkable 4-cost Sapphire character card with 4 strength, 4 willpower. He quests for 1, and he has 2 abilities. His first one is Put It to Good Use. You may exert 4 items of yours to play this character for free, and Fortune Hunter. When you play this character, look at the top 4 cards of your deck. You may reveal an item card and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. This is essentially an aerial, but for items, and kind of a blanket buff to item-based decks. I think there's either going to be a really good Ruby Sapphire or Sapphire Steel items-based deck that will use this, and the new Tamatoa, which we will talk about eventually in this video. On top of that, you can potentially play this card for free, which can be absolutely nuts. So I think this is a really cool card that people will probably be itching to get their hands on. Whether or not it sees any real long-term meta play, though, remains to be seen, but either way, I think this is a really strong card. Next up is Belle, Apprentice Inventor. She is an inkable 3-cost Sapphire character card with 3 strength, 3 willpower. She quests for 1. She has 1 ability, What a Mess. During your turn, you may banish chosen item of yours to play this character for free. Now, this card is bonkers. I've been testing it in my Ruby Sapphire deck recently, and it's really strong. But it's also not the be-all end-all card that's going to destroy the format like some people say it will. What it does best is shore up these Sapphire matchups into things like Aggro, Flynn Rider, and Steel Song. It's an amazing card, and it's common, which is nuts. I do think the holo versions of this card are going to be quite expensive, though, and highly sought after. But this card does also come in the starter decks and probably should be really easy to get a hold of. But if you're like me and playing Ruby Sapphire, you're probably going to want the blinged out holo versions, and it might be a little bit harder to get them. Next up is Tamatoa, Happy as a Clam. He is an inkable 6-cost Sapphire character card with 4 strength, 5 willpower, and he quests for 2. He has 2 abilities. The first one, Coolest Collection. When you play this character, return up to 2 item cards from your discard to your hand, and I'm beautiful, baby. Whenever this character quests, you may play an item for free. This is arguably the best card in the set. It has good stats and some insane abilities that buff up an already powerful deck. This is another card I've been testing, and it honestly feels incredible. And when it's not super useful at that exact moment, it's inkable, so you just throw it in your inkwell and you keep moving on. It's great. I think this card will not only be highly sought after, but expensive, unfortunately. Especially holo versions will probably be pretty expensive. So the faster you can get a play set of them, probably the better. Especially if you're planning on playing Ruby Sapphire or Sapphire Steel next set. Next up is Bagheera, Guardian Jaguar. He is an inkable 5-cost steel character card with 4 strength, 3 willpower, and he quests for 2. He has Bodyguard and 1 ability, You've Got to Be Brave. During an opponent's turn, when this character is banished, deal 2 damage to each opposing character. Initially, when I saw this card, it was a mistranslated version, and I was a little meh on it. But now that we have a full English version, I actually think this card is potentially really great in certain matchups. What's nice is that it really puts a roadblock in front of your opponent and forces them to either get rid of this and lose a lot of their board, or just let you keep questing with this and everything it's protecting. I don't know if this card is like a 4 of index, but I do think it has a lot of potential to be a really great card next set. And finally, we have Gantu, Experienced Enforcer. He is an uninkable 4-cost steel character card with 2 strength, 4 willpower, and he quests for 1. He has 2 abilities, the first one of which is Close All Channels. When you play this character, characters can't exert to sing songs until the start of your next turn, and don't get any ideas. Each player pays 2 ink more to play actions or items. This does not apply to singing songs. I think Gantu is going to be a very skill-intensive card, but when used correctly, I think this card will win games in certain matchups. It can be downright infuriating to go up against, and I could see this being a pretty pricey card, but not an overly expensive card. But if you're looking for some new pieces for your Amber Steel or Emerald Steel decks, I think Gantu is going to be your new best friend. So that's it for my top 10 cards of Archazia's Island that I think you should prioritize getting next set. If there are any I missed that you think are going to be really, really good in the next meta, please let us know in the comments below. Thanks again for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, remember to like and subscribe to the Sorcerer's Hat for more Disney Lorcana videos. I post a new one every single Friday. I hope you all have a great day. Bye-bye. Love ya.